I was 29 when this happened, and at the time, I was working as a service advisor at a mid-sized auto shop just outside Curitiba. I wasn't the kind of person who thought much about danger or worst-case scenarios. If anything, I tended to over-trust situations, always assuming things would resolve themselves with a bit of patience. I had no kids, lived alone, and spent most nights either cooking something simple or driving aimlessly just to clear my head. Driving was my comfort zone. It was the one place where the world felt quiet and predictable. It was late autumn, a Thursday, and it had rained the whole afternoon. The kind of rain that makes the asphalt shine like black glass and makes every streetlight halo out like a candle behind a fogged window. I remember being tired that day, not sleepy, just mentally drained, and I wanted nothing more than to go home, take a hot shower and pass out. My shift ended close to 10 p.m. We'd had an unusually chaotic day at the shop. 3 insurance claims came in back to back, and one client caused a scene because his engine light came back on. By the time I locked up, the street was empty. I could still hear the soft hiss of drizzle, the kind that feels like static on your skin. I got into my car, an old silver Honda Fit, adjusted the seat, and took a deep breath before starting the engine. Everything felt perfectly normal, completely unremarkable. I didn't know I was about to live the most disturbing night of my life. My routine after late shifts was always the same. Take the marginal road, cut across 2 neighborhoods, grab something quick from the 24-hour padaria if I was hungry, then head home. I usually listened to a podcast or some ambient music. That night I picked a random playlist. Slow guitar, reverb, soft percussion, rain night kind of music. The city looked washed out and tired, with puddles collecting around every uneven patch in the asphalt. I remember how the windshield wipers squeaked on the lowest speed, just enough to keep the blur away. My hands were relaxed on the wheel. There wasn't much traffic, maybe 1 car every few minutes. I passed a couple holding umbrellas and a guy smoking under a bus stop shelter. Totally ordinary. At the padaria, I parked under the awning and jogged inside. I bought a pão de queijo and a can of cold mate. The cashier, a woman I'd seen 100 times, looked half asleep. We exchanged a tired smile. Nothing more. When I got back into my car, I noticed the time, 10:27 p.m. I remember this because I texted my co-worker, Lucas, something about leaving the garage key under the counter. He replied with a thumbs-up emoji. Again, nothing unusual. As I pulled back onto the street, the drizzle had turned into a mist. Not enough to limit vision, just enough to soften everything. I loved that drive home, the long stretches, the way the city lights reflected on the wet road, the familiar quiet. I didn't feel watched or nervous or rushed. If anything, I felt safer than usual, cocooned in the soft glow of the dashboard lights, the gentle hum of the engine, the rhythm of the wipers. Everything was exactly how it always was, right up until it wasn't. About 10 minutes into the drive, I reached a curve I knew well, a slow, right-leaning bend near a row of warehouses. It's usually poorly lit, but that night it seemed darker than usual. My headlights carved out just enough of the asphalt for me to see something lying across the right lane. At first, I thought it was a large trash bag, torn open and soaked from the rain. I slowed down a little, squinting. The shape wasn't round. It was long and pale. My brain took a few seconds to register it. It was a person, a man lying on his side, one arm outstretched, palm facing upward like he had been reaching for something. My heart did one solid, painful thump, but I forced myself to think rationally. Maybe he'd been hit by another car. Maybe he had slipped. Maybe he was drunk. I stopped my car, hazard lights blinking on the empty road. Through the rain-blurred windshield, I could see that he wasn't moving. No twitch, no attempt to sit up. Shit, hey, I muttered to myself. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight and stepped out, the cold mist hitting my face. "Moso?" I called out. No answer. I approached slowly, checking for any signs of blood. Strangely, I didn't see any. Not a drop. He looked like he was in his 50s, wearing a dark jacket and jeans. His eyes were closed. His breathing, if he was even breathing, was impossible to see in the rain. A prickle of discomfort ran through me. Something felt off. I crouched down, keeping a little distance. "Senhor, você tá me ouvindo? The road is dangerous here. Você..." Before I could finish the sentence, his fingers twitched. Just barely, but enough to make me freeze. Then, with a slow stiffness, like someone waking up from a deep, uncomfortable sleep, he began to move. The man didn't get up right away. He rolled slightly onto his back, blinking like someone adjusting to light, but there was hardly any light, only my headlights and the orange reflection of a distant street lamp. "Are you hurt?" I asked, voice thin. He didn't answer. He didn't even look at me. His gaze seemed fixed somewhere above, like he was trying to recognize the sky. Then, slowly, he sat up. Not using his hands, just lifting his torso in one rigid motion, the way someone might in an old horror movie. A chill crawled down my arms. People don't sit up like that. Not normal people. He finally turned his head toward me. His expression was flat, unreadable, his mouth slightly open as if he'd just realized there was someone else there. "Você tá bem?" I repeated, my voice cracking. He stood, completely steady, no wobble, no pain, no sign of injury, and then he took one step toward me. It wasn't aggressive, just deliberate, heavy, slow. I stumbled back a bit, instinctively. "Hey, careful, I'm just trying to help." Another step. No blood, no limp, I muttered to myself. What the hell is going on? He kept coming, no sound except the wet thud of his shoes on the pavement. I turned slightly toward my car, keeping him in my peripheral vision. Something deep inside me, something old, animal, primal, started screaming that this wasn't right. The man's breathing was strange, not loud but spaced out, like he was forcing each breath intentionally. When he was just a few meters away, he finally spoke, a rasping whisper. "Car? What about my car?" I asked. But he didn't answer. Instead, he looked past me, directly at the driver's seat. The moment his eyes locked onto my car, something inside me snapped. Instinct overrode politeness, concern, everything. I stepped backward quickly. "Look, sir, I'll call an ambulance, okay? Just stay there." He didn't stop walking. "Hey, stay back." His jaw clenched and he repeated, more urgent, "Car. What do you want? A ride? Are you injured? Just talk to me." But he shook his head, a sharp, irritated movement, and took another step. His clothes dripped, his face expressionless except for a slight tremor at the corner of his mouth. That was enough. I bolted toward the driver's side door. He lunged. I heard the splash of his shoes hitting a puddle right behind me. I yanked the door open, threw myself inside and slammed it shut. He was at the window instantly, faster than I expected. Too fast for someone who had been lying motionless seconds ago. He pounded the glass with the flat of his hand, not hard enough to break it, but hard enough to make me scream. "Car!" he shouted now, voice cracking with some wild edge I couldn't understand. "I don't know you," I shouted back. "Get away!" his face pressed against the glass, rainwater and breath smearing the window. His eyes weren't angry. They were hungry, desperate. I turned the key, engine sputtering to life. He grabbed the door handle, yanking hard. Luckily, I had locked it automatically. "Stop!" he yelled. I didn't. I slammed my foot on the accelerator, tires skidding on the wet road. For a terrifying second, I thought he was going to cling to the car, but the slick pavement forced him to stumble backward, arms flailing. As I sped away, I saw him in the rearview mirror, standing dead center in the lane, facing me, not moving, watching. And then, impossibly, he started running after me. I drove faster than I ever had in my life. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely keep the wheel straight. I kept checking the mirror, convinced he'd appear out of the darkness again, sprinting after me like some nightmare I couldn't outrun. He didn't, of course. By the time I reached a busier avenue, I had lost sight of him completely. I pulled over near a gas station, lungs burning, and called the police. They sent a patrol car and took my statement, but the officers kept exchanging glances like they weren't sure whether I was exaggerating or just rattled by the weather. "We'll check the area," one said, "but there's no report of an accident tonight." I insisted I'd seen him lying there, that he'd been motionless, that he'd chased me, but their expressions didn't change. They didn't find anyone. No injured man, no footprints, nothing. For days afterward, I couldn't shake the feeling that he hadn't been surprised to see me. He'd been waiting. It's been 2 years. I still drive that same route sometimes, refusing to let fear own the road. But every time I approach that curve, my hands tense on the wheel. The streetlights still don't reach that spot. The asphalt still looks like a sheet of black glass. And sometimes, only for a second, I swear I see the shape of a man lying there again, always in the exact same position. Always in the corner of my eye. I don't slow down anymore.